Join us this episode as we chat with Ethan Michael and Weasel Adkins of Timber Visions, a place where Appalachian art collides head-on with the psychedelic.
Go screaming down the highway like a bullet from a gun. Go out and find some fun, don't you know? It's all or none. All or none. Time to be choosing. Revelations yet to come. Fade away. Forget to move in. This in my sight. It's all or none.
Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, where you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. And today we have two very special guests with us, Ethan Michael and Heath, aka Weasel Adkins. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Well, this is a very unique episode in that I am live at your studio, and it's Timber Visions, and it's been exciting to see your artwork, and we will definitely have postings of that. So tell me where you're currently living.
We are both from Oak Hill and both currently living in Oak Hill.
Okay, so born
Yeah.
and raised.
Born and raised, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's just jump right into your art story, and we'll kind of get into how you met, but let's see. So you do a form of art that's, I know when I first met you, Ethan, you were doing wood burning, and you
Yeah.
expanded on that. So let's start with the wood burning. How long have you been doing that?
I think my first piece is dated 2016, and that was just with a little plug-in burner I got from Walmart. I think my mom got it for me. It had been laying around for years, and I had a little time off from the ironworkers and started dabbling in it and really enjoyed it. But it was mostly just doing surface sketching with the burner. And then a couple years later, I got a better burner and started doing Christmas ornaments. And they did really well. And I had a lot of fun doing the burning on the ornaments. And then my wife would paint them, and had a lot of fun doing that. But it was just completely a side gig at that point. And I had left the ironworkers and got hired at Ohio University in Athens in facilities administration, and COVID hit. So I went from, I had one of those jobs that was a real comfortable job, easy to get complacent in, but a great place, great people. And after, I think 200 of us got the axe in one day and made national news. And but anyway, I had a severance package from that and a lot of time on my hands. So I took the concept of the Christmas ornament and then just times the size by 20.
So were you already doing art before you started doing wood burning?
Oh yeah. Been artistic since childhood, starting out with sketching with my grandma Armstrong. I was constantly sketching through my childhood and loved art class in high school. Had an amazing teacher named Bill Dotson who really opened my eyes to a lot of different techniques and all kinds of different mediums. So yeah, I've always been into creating art, but mostly just as a hobby. And like with the Christmas ornaments, just as a side hustle.
Mm.
So
So, Weasel, I have to get used to saying that name, but you have done extensive woodwork. I mean, I am actually recording in this amazing space that has, cabinets, stonework, table, all of these things that you have created. So have you always done woodworking, or is that
Uh,
never? Or...
I went to a building trade school my last 2 years of high school, and that's where I learned to do a lot of it. Then I got into the Iron Workers Union, and we was always building stuff, and just my whole life, I see something, then I want to challenge myself, so I build it.
Well, I can say just at a quick glance here, I see the barn door technique, and one of the most unique bathrooms I've seen in forever. So I have some pictures and videos that I will share when we post this. So you both mentioned the ironworkers. Is that how you guys met?
No, we actually went to school together.
Oh, okay.
I graduated with his little brother, but he lived in town. I lived just out of town. We was about a mile and a half, 2 miles apart, but we always known each other going through school. And then we got in the iron workers, and we worked several jobs together.
Well, how did you
Well,
guys figure out that you both like to do this sort of, one's building, one's burning?
well, I hadn't really, I hadn't built very many tables or anything over the last several years, and I was working on one last year, and I'd ran into Ethan one night, and he was trying to convince me to build one for him to burn on and us just to do together. And I was like, well, when I get time, I was pretty much triple booked at the time, and I finally got freed up and shot him a text and put us a tabletop together, and he came out, and it just started from there.
Well, what you do is, you guys do this project that's very unique. You take the wood and the grain, and can you describe, either of you, both of you, how you work with the grain and how you decide what you're going to do with it?
As far as the art goes, I had been doing, and I gave it a nickname called Nature's Grain. And I've got several, in a lot of my pieces, you can notice the burning of the grain lines and then patterns within the wood grain. And it's something I taught to my school children at Saints Peter and Paul Catholic School in Wellston, Ohio. And you could do it with paint, black marker. At the first Wood Songs I was at, I did a Nature's Grain painting. Then once I got with Weasel out here, and it's the wood grain's taken on a whole other, it's on a whole other level now, because we get to see him, a lot of these logs he's pulling out of the woods himself, and the people around him are. So we get to see the wood grain from the tree ring perspective, and then see it cut, and then incorporate the art into what develops. So it's exciting from the very beginning, when it's just a log out in the grass.
So the timber and that's sort of part of what your family does, Weasel? Is that what I gather, that you've been used to logging, and if that's the term?
Yes. Both sides of my family are loggers,
Mm.
and like both my grandparents, both sides, they was loggers, and I just grew up in it. But got a little older, I wanted something better, so I got into the ironworkers. But still, on layoff time or once in a while, I would help my family out
Still
and work
cuts.
for them some.
When you've done that, you know, both of you've had exposure to woods and stuff. Do you find that I don't know, for me personally, I like to look at the different grains, different trees have different things, and you're also working with imperfections in wood. So you've been able to create an art form with some of these imperfections. So that's different than just burning. So it's a different level. Can you guys describe that what you're currently doing?
Yeah, I looked for something that is wild looking and just looks like junk, and then I bring it to Ethan, and he gets all excited. But it's stuff that most people would see is just a piece of trashed wood and probably throw it over the hill. A sawmill probably wouldn't buy it. And then
Wow.
I look for because some trees they get weird grain or a weird growth or something on it, or burls or something that's got a big hollow spot in it that
So like a
throws
rot
the grain off.
like a rot, a blight. I think we talked about even wormy chestnut and that sort of thing. Those are all different, sort of an imperfection, but you guys have been able to create art with it.
Yeah. The like wormy maple, it gets these colorful streaks in them, and you have it sawn certain ways, and you get a really wild look in the lumber itself.
Wow.
And
So how you
So-
cut it even affects it, right?
yeah, certain ways you saw it will bring different things out in it.
So now you're combining the cutting of the wood, the grains, the imperfection, and you're adding another technique, another level of artwork to it. So can you talk about how the epoxy part started?
We just we had some stuff with some imperfections, and we just started filling low spots to build it up even with the rest of the lumber. And then Ethan, he likes a lot of collars, so we started dyeing the epoxy and changing the elevations of collars throughout the process, and giving it kind of a 3D look in some areas.
Wow. So as I'm looking right now, I see a table. And is this one of the, can you describe this table that's been, as you pour it, not pour, but when you put the epoxy on it, it changes it somehow. Can you describe that process of how the wood is not flat any longer. It has a different appearance.
Well, the one in there, that's actually our first go round with the epoxy. And be honest, it was born out of just when we had that initial conversation when he got this pine table done for the Wild Appalachia table. We got the epoxy subject came up rather quickly, and Weasel's got the carpentry skills to do anything, but he started, he went down the rabbit hole of watching videos and was like, we can do this. This is definitely within our wheelhouse. And so what you see in front of you, Weasel built a form, and it's not unlike concrete. You got to have, perimeter forms for it to set up against. Put the wood inside of it, pour the epoxy in multiple stages, and once you take that form off, you have wood floating in epoxy. So that was all formed up at the beginning, and then I think we poured that several times, because that's a lot of epoxy there. But
You
so
said
we'd do a
stages.
layer.
In
Was it?
You said in stages. So do you let it dry a little bit, then you go to or different color, whatever?
Yeah, on that one, it was a combination of black and blue, and we poured a good bit, and then we let it set up, and we poured some more. And so I think we did, what, 3 pours on that? Probably, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And then it's going to get coated again in more clear. It'll be finished off, and that top layer of the clear will make it perfectly level. Because it's hard with the 4 floating boards to make it perfectly level at this point. It's level enough to be a table, but once that clear coat goes over top of it, it brings everything out again. And then like you saw with your incense burner, there's a depth, like you called it, the aquarium effect. All that is below it, the table itself and the wood designs and the epoxy, the collared epoxy, will all be below that clear surface and give it just a really neat effect.
Yes, I obtained a gift, and that was a pan, a cast iron skillet, incense burner. How cool. It's definitely the most
Just for
unusual
you.
thing I've ever seen. I love it. So you had mentioned something, wild Appalachia. What can you describe what that was?
The big table out here in the studio, that I've got, Tecumseh the turtle and Brutus the buck is now being carved out. This is the first table, technically, that Timber Visions has in operation. That was the one when Weasel called me and said, "Hey, I got you a tabletop out here," and decided to do just a big nature scene, just specific animals from the Appalachian area that are, have made their mark in our lives. Big buck, a turtle, bass, turkey, duck, etc. So this Wild Appalachia is the name of the table.
Okay. I thought it
and
was
then-
an art event. Okay.
And then each animal on the table will have its own name.
Okay.
So
Very
for instance, like I said, the turtle is Tecumseh, and I'm on Brutus the buck right now. So,
Very
but
interesting.
yeah, this one's going to take a while, but it'll be worth it.
So you also mentioned wood songs, and that's how I met you originally. And you had brought a guitar that you had done some burning and painting in. So that brings me to your other artwork. So when did you said you've done artwork, but some of it is a different dimension, the quality of, there's and I will have later some video and some pictures to go with our interview. And there's a house I'm looking at, and it has, just the way it's designed, it's sort of, how did you get into that sort of 3D, you walk past it and it looks like it's moving sort of effect? Not everyone does that. So how'd that come about?
To be honest, I started messing around with the Christmas ornaments. A lot of inspiration came from doing those. but I would do just crazy patterns and, paint them Christmas collars, and just the optical illusion type geometrical patterns are fascinating. I love that Facebook page you got me on. So
Sacred,
I've always been fascinated with the
Yeah.
patterns.
yeah, sacred
Uh,
geometry, and it shows a lot in nature that has these bizarre, cool patterns.
Yeah, and that's what we're diving into right now, is letting nature speak to us. And it really do. I mean, we'll look at a piece of wood and just let the grains talk to us, and they do every time. And that's, I can't encourage people enough to, get a piece of wood. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big piece, and just see what the grain lines tell you.
Mm.
They'll kind of make their own cosmic blueprint. And so combining geometric shapes with the nature's pattern, they just go hand in hand. And it's now you've seen all the individual pieces. I mean, it's in everything I do.
Mm.
I love combining absolute realism with the psychedelic patterns. There's in that the farmhouse project you're referring to. I mean, it's a perfect example of it. It's a legitimate house, looks like a picture of a house, but the surroundings are anything but realistic.
Right.
But,
And I'm also at a table that is like incredibly large, for a large family here. So, Weasel, the furniture stuff and everything. I know I stumble when I say Weasel. Um, uh, the degree of doing, I know you said you guys were both iron workers, you've both been into woods and stuff, but furniture building's a different level as well. So also, and there was this cabinet that has a built-in spice rack. I mean, how did you start doing furniture things? That's a
I started with like furniture probably 20 years ago, just as a hobby to give me something else to do, because I don't know, my mind never turns off. So and
it's a common theme out here.
yeah, in the last couple years, Pinterest has just been killing me.
And he idolizes Bob Vila.
oh, I see. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you're Pinterest inspired by some of these, the woodworking, and honestly, I'm also visually looking around the room and I see cast iron, and I have never seen such a collection of cast iron anywhere. So is this a family trait? The antique
No,
or
no, my house, I made it look rustic inside, and I got reading up about cast iron and got interested in it. Well, anything I get interested in, I got to take it to the whole next level. And I started buying it. Then I just kept buying it, and now I've got probably close to 100 pieces.
wow. And now I have to say, your space from the outside, it's like the best kept secret. It looks like
It looks like a garage until you walk inside, and
yes.
then it looks like a 1880 cabin or something.
It does look like a cabin, and I have a relative that did something on a smaller scale in their garage. You go up some steps, open a door, and then you're in a studio sort of efficiency thing. But this is definitely a log cabin inside of your building. Amazing. So let's go to music. Ethan, you how long have you been doing music? When we were at Wood Songs, you also this last year sang. So how long have you been singing? And I know that you play out.
Yeah, that part of it, the writing and recording, actually trying to get an album recorded of over 10 original songs that poured out of me. That's, and then playing in front of people, that is within the last 2 years of my life.
Oh,
I started playing guitar my senior year of high school. And it was just something I always did. Definitely the most therapeutic thing I ever did. And then that was more or less my therapy on a daily basis, is just sit there and strum, and melodies would come out naturally. And, then when I really kind of gravitated towards the art and realized, you know, um, the bloom where you planted, I really started to blossom as a person, an artist. All this stuff started coming out of me naturally that has obviously been kind of pent up for years. And so I played guitar for years, but then all of a sudden I was writing songs, and like full songs were coming out, and my voice started improving. And it's been a wild little journey so far. Just with the art and the music,
mm.
um, it's all kind of poured out at the same time, and it's been exciting, and I'm happy with what's going on. So
So you mentioned bloom where you're planted. So I'm going to ask each of you, what does that quote mean to you?
In regards to what we're doing now, we both take Appalachian art seriously, obviously. And we gravitate towards the Appalachian twist on things. And obviously, because, this is where we were born and raised. And, growing up, you see Appalachian art all over the place, whether it's a knickknack at someone's house, or, decor on someone's porch. My personal influence was my Uncle Terry Lloyd, who still is he's the one that did the fish and the pig. He was constantly making stuff like that. And I just always thought the world of Appalachian art. We've been in love with that style of art and decor. And so now we're going to be two boys from Oak Hill who combine Appalachian art with, the visions that we get. So, very proud to be from where we're from, and, born and raised, and now we're going to, hopefully leave our mark, in our area. So,
Absolutely. So Weasel, bloom where you're planted.
I just pretty much like Ethan said, just the Appalachia area. It's just backwoods, kind of just small town country people.
Mm-hmm.
Just, this is actually a logging town. My grandpas have done it since the 70s, and I just like building things out of wood.
So you guys have a slogan that has to do with this combination of your two forms, or taken, let's see.
Timber Visions is where Appalachian art and the psychedelic collide.
Collide. Oh, so cool. Well, definitely, as I look at your space, that's definitely the case. So, what advice would you give to someone that wants to do what you're doing? And there's multiple things you do. So, just what they say, hey, how can I get into that? What would you say?
Um, Number one, experiment with whatever medium kind of floats your boat. And secondly, and I think most importantly, is get way out of your comfort zone.
Mm,
Get way out. Because like we talked with the turtle and the 3D effect that it, you know, where it's at this point in time, that was all from a mishap. And I was extremely out of my comfort zone when I had to fix the blunder. And the best thing that ever happened to me artistically was getting out of my comfort zone and challenging myself.
mm,
um and same thing with the epoxy tables. That's something that, and it was trial and error, and it was, you got to have multiple conditions just right for these for the epoxy to work. And so get out of your comfort zone,
mm.
and you you will be shocked at what you're capable of.
Great words.
So
What about you,
that's
Weasel? What would you say I mean, what would you give as words of advice?
Just don't be afraid to try new things. And don't let people tell you can't do something.
And
Just
hit
go
Pinterest
for
up.
it. You
Hit
go for
Pinterest
it wide
up.
open.
Awesome. So, what do you guys, as a company, Timber Visions, your combination of all of your crafts and things put together, what are your what's next for you guys?
At this point, we we have no clue. It could be anything. um we're having the time of our lives. Literally, this is like a laboratory out here, especially with the epoxy stuff.
Mm,
So we're constantly coming up with new ideas. And the great thing is we come up with an idea, and the next thing you know, Weasel's got, it's already, the wheels are in motion. And I'll come back one day and it's started. That, what we were just talking about the day before, chewing the fat.
mm.
And all of a sudden it's real, it's happening. um so that's another, like, kind of going off what Weasel said, take action. you
Mhm.
know get your hands working, get your hands in tune with your mind, and let them go. And so we're going to do the tables. We've got 4 tables, I think, in progress right now. But we're talking all kinds of different stuff, from just smaller epoxy stuff. Regular tables will be in there. We might even hit a gypsy wagon one of these days. We don't know. So, but,
You were
who
throw
knows?
that in there. So you
People
also,
need to look up gypsy wagons. There's going to be one coming out.
absolutely, I'll be on
um,
the list. So one of the things I know that you are going to do some commissioned pieces as well, correct?
yes. So people could come to us and say, I love the elaborate stuff you do, but I don't need something, that extreme. We can do, kind of a normal, basic table. That's one project we got coming up. which will have decorative birding on it, but nothing like the 3D stuff or the epoxy. I don't think. To another project that has started, which is when the customer was asked, what kind of art do you want on this? He said, I want everything you do. So painting, carving, wood burning, epoxy. So you can go from a basic piece of furniture to someone saying, I want everything that you do.
Wow. That's
so our first two commissions literally cover the spectrum of, making ideas come to life. So
yeah, like someone will say, I want my name on a table, or say the year I started bought my farmhouse or whatever, that can be on a table, to as elaborate as some of your like psychedelic art.
Yes. So yeah, and it really just hit me talking to you here that's what happened with our first two is from basic, and basic doesn't mean lesser, it just it means a little less decoration, to everything that's running through our minds put on there. So it's exciting. We started in late July.
And Oak Hill, Ohio is where you're based. And
yes, on Antioch Road.
Okay.
So
well, it has been great to have the two of you on. It's I haven't done too many people as more than one person. So, and this is my first probably to be on location, and it's been great. So, and I again want to say thank you to Weasel and Ethan from Timber Visions. And I look forward to the progress of your business and all your creative ideas coming to fruition. So again, I just want to say bye for now, and let's keep me posted.
Absolutely. Thank you for everything you do.
All right.
So it's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So as our time comes to a close, remember to keep creating, keep sharing, and keep supporting each other. And remember to bloom where you're planted. Bye for now.